Greetings Guardians, my name is Byf here. The Red War was an event that shaped the world of Destiny on a fundamental level. It taught the Guardians that the light was not the perfect and reliable power that it was believed to be. There are lasting consequences to this war, the most obvious of which you experience basically anytime you load into the game. We have to use a tower that isn't actually in the tower. It's on a lower section of the city's walls. I can't possibly go over all the lore ramifications of this event, from the citizens of the last city distrusting Guardians to the Scions eventually reverse engineering the technology of the cage into miniaturized versions that could take out a singular ghost's connection to the light. But today, I did want to talk about the reason why this was possible. To put it simply, this was possible because of the Nine. I'll also be going over the reason why it happened. Spoiler alert, it's even more insane than most of us could have conceived of. But before we get into that, let's touch on something a little bit more sane. Today we partnered up with Geology to bring you this sponsored video. They saw that I was making tons of lore videos and reminded me to check my health stat. Luckily it's all fine, mostly because all my old armor has health, but also because of my great skincare routine that they helped me get onto. Perhaps surprising literally 0% of you, I've been the nerdy teenager with bad acne and it sucks. I've also been the confident 20-something with bad acne. Can confirm it sucks less, but still, yeah, it sucks. Now in my 30s looks like the order of the day is better late than never because my skin is getting better than it's ever been, and that's thanks to Geology. In Destiny terms, look at the ground of the moon. Now look at the ground of Desert Perpetual. Notice the lack of massive craters and asteroid impacts and, well, yeah, that's my skin before and after using Geology. They've helped 500,000 people transform their skin thanks to their personalized skincare routines. Thanks to their survey, a custom skincare routine is only 2 minutes away. It's also great because it cuts out the faff. I'm literally already explaining fourth dimensional beings, time travel, and quantum entanglement. I have enough to think about as is. Luckily, their instructions are simple to follow and cut out all the hassle of guessing what to do and in what order. They also cut out all the weird ingredients as well. Only dermatologist-tested ingredients that are proven to help your skin. So, jump in now and get 100% off your personalized skincare trial set and a free gift of choice. All you have to do is pay for shipping and you'll receive $50 worth of skincare products and a free gift of your choice in every order, plus 50% off add-ons like their shampoo and shower gel. Thanks again to Geology, and back to the lore. So, if we're going to talk about the Red War, I think we need a refresher on a few lore details. I'm sure most of you will remember the moment at which it became very clear that there was a massive intelligence failure within the Vanguard, as the eyes and ears of the city were blinded and deafened to the Red Legion's approach. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I always remember this scene.
Ikora, if you tell me this is a practical joke, well, it kills me to say it, but I would be really impressed.
Impressing you, Cade, is the easiest thing I'll do all day.
Let's get serious, people.
Zavala, this is my serious face. Can't you tell?
Ikora, what have you got?
Someone or something has sabotaged the Skyline defense systems.
And comms have been spotty for the last few hours. Every sensor beyond the wall has gone dark.
Maybe it's just the storm. Maybe it's... What are the set feeds telling us?
Nothing.
Well, that's good, right?
No. I mean, they're not there. There are no satellites.
And that's not good.
Battle stations! Everyone with me, now!
Hang on!
This was the moment that kicked off the Red War, and it's what most people will remember. However, it's in the later aftermath of the war that we learned a lot more of the context around why this moment was possible, and most crucially, why the Red Legion was able to storm the Last City with a massive fleet, and why in response the Last City's defenders were caught off guard, why their defenses were down, and why their eyes and ears were blinded. There are a lot of publicly noted reasons for the Red Legion's ability to launch such a surprise attack within the lore. From Gaul knowing that his only option was to steamroll to the Traveler or die to Infinite Guardian attrition, to potential Scion interference with all of the city's communication technology. However, as it turns out, these reasons seem to only partially be true at best. We know this thanks to the investigations of a cryptarch called Lavinia. I've talked a little bit more about her before, but I think we need to focus on her again because she is particularly relevant to this video. If you've heard of her lore before, you might have heard of her being described as a cryptarch rebel. That's actually true, but the reasons behind it aren't as well documented. Specifically, she was the kind of person who was hunting the truth, and I don't mean in the sense of she did her research and did literally no research. No, Lavinia, the cryptarch, was deep in the Lost City's equivalent of the J-Store mines, and if you know what I mean when I say J-Store, hi! I hope your degree didn't traumatize you too much either. In particular, Lavinia was searching for the Nine, but in the process of her search, she stumbled upon some very particular and uncomfortable details within the archives of the Cryptarchy. As it turns out, there are nerds who write academic papers within the universe of Destiny, not just me writing them in real life. In an even crazier turn of events, the lore goes deep enough that some of those papers are rejected by the Cryptarchy. In a more scary dystopian twist, some of them are rejected for reasons that are less about academic accuracy and potentially reach into the political side of not wanting the population of the Lost City to go ballistic. Learning that a bunch of extra-dimensional beings were helping the Red Legion to conquer the Lost City is something of a bummer when it comes to city-wide morale. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened, and you can also bet your bottom dollar that this sometimes involves the Hidden or the Praxic Order, or maybe both. As best I can tell, there is no confirmation of the second of those. I'm just making inferences based on the fact that, well, it's the Praxic Order. Arnor is a member of the Praxic Order. You can bet that if someone was writing papers about darkness, she was not going to let that get published. However, as Lavinia was searching for the Nine, there was something of a hint that kept coming up, and that hint was dark matter, which perhaps isn't surprising when you reference it in terms of the Nine. After all, they are composed of dark matter. In particular, we're going to see references to the term CDM, or cold dark matter, a few times in the lore entry coming up. Just remember that whenever you see dark matter or cold dark matter referenced, it's probably something to do with the Nine. With all that said, let's see what Lavinia found while she was trawling through the Cryptarch's equivalent of J-Store in the Lost City, and what cursed secrets she uncovered. This is a lore entry from the Dust lorebook, and it's called The Stacks. It reads as follows. The archives are silent. The staff have gone home for the dawning festivities, and only the diligent city frames move through the stacks now, eradicating disorder, serenading in soft susurrus by the wind of turbulence cleaners sweeping off the quartz storage plates in their cases of relic iron. Lavinia imagines that the frames are possessed by the ghosts of nameless librarians from Nineveh, ancient Mesopotamian souls ready to pluck an intruder's eyes. Are there any librarian guardians? Can't guardians turn invisible sometimes? Maybe one's right behind her now, and its ghost is covered in the eyes of library intruders. This spooks her so badly that she nearly falls off the catwalk. She bites her tongue instead, rearranges her aching legs, and keys in another search. She's already sifted through hours of Tower audio records to extract keywords from Xur's babble. Now she just needs to follow that spoor back to the beast. Remote archive, database text only search initialized. Welcome, user. Please enter search query 99IX dust planetary alignment. Results. Shimizu et al. Significant anomalies in dark matter detections cannot be explained by interactions of gravitational focusing bodies. Journal of Post-Collapse Cosmological Recovery, Volume 99, Number 1012. Gonzalez, Hari 4, and Mwangi. Anomalies in dark matter detection as a function of topological T-genic complexities in orbital dynamics. Journal of Post-Collapse Cosmological Recovery, Volume 99, Number 1014. Shimizu et al. Massive anomalies in dark matter detections cannot be explained without teleonomic models of CDM efflux self-interaction. Journal of Post-Collapse Cosmological Recovery, Volume 99, Number 1015. Gonzalez, Hari 5, and Mwangi. Cold dark matter anisotropy as a non-teleonomic result of scale-variant coupling between mass and dark stellar wind. Journal of Post-Collapse Cosmological Recovery, Volume 99, Number 1015, Annex 1. Shimizu et al. Non-overlapping magisteria or interference pattern, the role of seizure by necessity in the redeployment of scientific instruments for the city's defense. New Thoughts in Post-Red Politics, Volume 1, Number 18. Lakshmi 2 and Hari 5. Do cognitive insight excursions cause spontaneous exo-reset syndrome? A case study. Unpublished archive material. Personal collection. More results. Strange. Very strange. Full of references to the dark matter wind blowing through the solar system. A fact of galactic weather which every school child learns and never thinks about again. Something brushes across her scalp. Lavinia jerks up from the screen, one bit lip away from a scream. A sensor mite, barely a glitter in the dark, tumbles past on the air currents. It will come after her body heat, and if it identifies her, then her master will have her writing ethnographic studies of deep sewer graffiti. Hastily, she keys in her next search string. "Come on, Lucky Lavinia," she whispers, though she hates the name. 99IX, Red Legion, Gaul, attack on city undetected, unforeseen, no warning, why? Results. Consensus Committee on the Invasion and Occupation of the City, CCIOC, Final Report, Chapter 13, Red Legion Warfighting Doctrine and the Problem of Strategic Surprise, Free Document. CCIOC, Annex to the Final Report, Failures of the City and City Allies Early Warning and Intelligence Systems, Unpublished/redacted document, sensitive to city security. CCIOC, Annex to the Final Report, A Culture of Permissive Espionage, The Openness of the Tower to Faction Agents and Unknown Vendor Entities, UVEs, Unpublished/redacted document, sensitive to city security. Shimizu Hassan, Unexplained CDM self-interaction immediately before the Red Legion invasion of the city. Coincidence or purposeful interference? Rejected manuscript. Shimizu Academic Store. More results. Why rejected? Unexplained CDM self-interaction immediately before the rejection letter. Reviewers concur that the paper does not provide a mechanism by which cold dark matter could interact with city sensors. Military experts attribute the Red Legion's stealthy approach to electronic deception by Scion operatives. More results? Lavinia freezes. Something with tiny, tiny legs is scurrying across the rim of her ear. She tries to get her hand up, very slowly, but it's too late. The sensor mite is crawling inside. It buzzes and the buzz makes a tiny voice. "Miss Garcia Umartavil," Master Rahul says, "could we have a word about your choices, please?" Okay, so let's cut through all of the jargon of that and make it understandable. In the first search of the archives that Lavinia makes here, she's just running through basic search terms regarding the Nine, and everything that comes up relates to dark matter. In particular, a lot of it is published by one guy, a certain Shimizu. He is constantly pointing out that something is off with the dark matter in the system, and a bunch of other academics persistently write research papers to counter exactly what he's saying as addendums in all of the issues that he enters. Shimizu is constantly being shut down by other city researchers. Later, after searching for more information that might connect the Nine to the Red Legion, and how their general proximity to each other might be explained in some manner, we see a bunch of unpublished and redacted papers commenting on why the last city fell to the Red Legion, and why there was such a massive intelligence failure. Many of the papers are redacted, probably because it was deemed that they weren't safe for public consumption. Note the bit where I mentioned morale in the city a bunch earlier? Yeah, this is your big hint to that concept. Shimizu also has a paper that was submitted here regarding a sudden but notable surge in dark matter just before the invasion of the last city by the Red Legion. This paper is outright rejected by the reviewers of the archives for not providing any kind of proof of how the city sensors might have been affected by cold dark matter. That's at least what the archives say, but honestly, who knows if that's just the internal story or the actual one. There is a lot of stuff about how the Hidden regards him as a conspiracy theorist, and I'm gonna level with you. Yeah, that's exactly what Shimizu is. Plain and simple. He's picking apart the problem of dark matter wherever he sees it, and for a while, he's been trying to understand what's going on. The Hidden at this point, in another document from the season of The Drifter, refer to him as just everybody's favorite crackpot conspiracy theorist. He's been looking closely at the possibility of an outside force assisting the Red Legion in its invasion of the tower and the city. At a certain point, the Hidden just started advising the Cryptarchy to reject his manuscripts from any legitimate publications he submitted them to. Here's the problem. Shimizu may be a conspiracy theorist, but unfortunately, he's completely correct. There was indeed an outside force that was working to allow the Red Legion to invade, and it was using dark matter, or more specifically, cold dark matter, to do so. Ding ding ding, we have proof of the Nine's involvement, and this is later confirmed in the same law book by Lavinia as she stepped through the Cocytus gateways and immersed herself in whatever was on the other side, be it unknown space, the Nine Realms, the fourth dimension, or perhaps all three. I've always sort of used those terms a little interchangeably, but perhaps we can start to pick apart the differences over time. In fact, I really hope we get to do that, because that's just going to become more and more important. Anyway, after Lavinia steps through the gateways, we get two more law entries from the Dust Lawbook, namely Nine and Witch. These law entries of the Dust Lawbook tell us some really interesting and really well-defined bits of lore about the Nine. This is one of the first moments at which we learn that the Nine are made of dark matter. A quick excerpt from the Witch entry tells us more about the Red Legion, the Red War, and the Nine's involvement more specifically. It reads, "In passing, Lavinia sees the entire history of the Queen's interactions with the Nine, more than anyone suspected and more vital. She sees how one of the Nine blinded Guardians to Gaul's approach, risking everything, for Gaul would have destroyed the sun and the Nine with it, to learn how to steal the light. She sees how that one was punished." From this quote, we can get an idea of some of the reasons why the Nine would have allowed the Red Legion to attack, and might have even aided their assault on the lost city. The interesting thing is that this starts to fray with a different account of things, something which maybe adds more nuance to it, or perhaps tells a different story entirely, and it comes from Edge of Fate. I do think I have a reasonable explanation for why this happened and what's going on, but ultimately, I want to leave this up to interpretation because it's still a mystery we've not fully unraveled. For the moment though, the Witch entry confirms the most important part of our story, which is that yes, the Nine absolutely aided the Red Legion in their assault on the Traveler, and whilst that's the important part, it's the reason why that we learn next, which is completely insane. Now again, it was stated that they did so as one of them decided to make that decision purely so they could try to learn how to steal the light. But that's not all. There is another reason stated in Edge of Fate, and it is where the lore gets insane. In particular, This is expanded upon further within the Sacred Emergence side quest that's related to Orin. The quest starts when you find what looks like a corpse of the old emissary version of Orin. Yes, the one with the damn toes. This is where it all begins, but where it leads us is much more important. We search for more copies of Orin's old self, shed like a snake's skin in the act of ecdysis. As we do so, Orin recovers more of her old memories, and the story of what happened to her starts to unfold. Orin slowly hints to us that there was some kind of wound or slight that the Nine dealt to her, which was part of the reason for her painful choice to depart from their service. She reckons with a realization and understands eventually that she didn't just leave the service of the Nine to deliver a message to us on behalf of Three. Instead, she left because of the specific actions of the Nine and the murder of her ghost, Gaul. Not to be confused with Gaul, spelt Ghaul. I know there's going to be some confusion because this is a Red War story and Gaul is important to that. But no, this is about Gaul, spelt Gol. Gaul is Orin's ghost. Upon finishing this quest, we actually find a calcified memory of Gaul's shell, and it tells us so much more about the reasons for the Red War, revealing an utterly shocking fact.
Gaul. This isn't him, but an idea imprinted on the silica.
You ditched the Nine over a ghost? These little con artists are almost as bad as your last boss.
Hey, watch it.
He tried to warn me about the Nine and you, Wu Ming. Gaul was kind and good, fresh bred. I told him to go to the city, but he died. He was killed when the light was severed. It was petty. They grabbed the network with careless hands and ripped it from the sky just to free me of my bonds.
Orin, a war resulted from the event you're describing.
They knew I'd send Gaul home, and so they saw our lights snuffed. Such effort. All for one little ghost. The rest to them is causation. Dismissible aftermath.
Yeah, the Nine need water. They divert a river and kill everything downstream. You know it. I know it. I'm sorry they did it to you, too.
Not all of them.
So there it is, the original reason for the Red War. As Orin puts it herself, the Nine saw the early warning satellites of the city and grabbed the network with careless hands, ripped it from the sky. And why? So they could isolate Orin and more easily lure her into the role of emissary. The Red War started in the most disastrous manner that it did, so that the Nine could kill Gaul. They started the Red War and nearly destroyed themselves in the process to kill a single ghost. Let that sink in for a second. They did all of that for one ghost. The sheer level of destruction that they unleashed as a worthy response to a ghost is incredible. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the words. It is mad to think about that much devastation simply being unleashed so that Orin and Gaul were separated, and so that Gaul would die. I guess this is just starting to show us exactly how little we understand fourth-dimensional beings. To all of us, these actions seem insane. To them, maybe it's just all causality, as Orin says. But here's the thing. Orin says something else at the very end of the quest, namely that this wasn't the choice of all the Nine. I think it seems clear that some of the Nine were willing to allow the Red Legion to invade for the sake of seeing whether the light could be stolen and then utilized. More importantly, there are some within the Nine who have no fascination about this at all. Is it therefore possible that this was another moment where the division between the inner and outer orbits of the Nine led to the same action being taken but for different reasons? Is it perhaps that maybe the inner orbits themselves, in desperation to discover the secrets of the light and to have a more pliable emissary, were willing to let Gaul die? I think I have a more elegant solution than all of that. Orin says that it was not because of all the 9 that Gol died, and Lavinia states that there was one member of the 9 in particular who destroyed the satellite networks of the last city with cold dark matter. I'm gonna propose something crazy. What if it was 3? Think about it for just a second. Orin was required to be emissary for a time, but there would also need to be a reason for her to leave the service of the 9 in order to deliver 3's final message, and to invite the Guardians and Lodi to Kepler. 3 is also one of the inner orbits, and if it was indeed sensing the possibility of its own death, then maybe it was looking at Gol with the intent of allowing him to steal the light so that it might learn paracausality for itself. After all, it is the one that would have been closest to the action, seeing as all these events unfolded within the last city on Earth. And there's one last bit of evidence, which we don't necessarily have immediate proof of, but which I still think is rather convincing, which is namely this. Where were those satellites that were supposed to detect the Red Legion? Given the proximity of the Red Legion's attack on the tower, I have to imagine that those satellites were in orbit of Earth. So which of the 9 was placed ideally to disrupt those satellites? Well, clearly it was Earth. Clearly it was 3. I don't know that to be the case. It's not tacitly confirmed anywhere, and it's not actively confirmed anywhere either. But that's what I think fits best. And as for 3's punishment, well, maybe 3 being found by Maya Sundaresh was a part of that punishment. Maybe it was given to Maya as something of a sacrificial lamb. Who knows? We still lack a lot of the answers as to why things happened. The main revelation of all of these things that did happen is clear. The Red Legion's surprise attack and the claiming of the Traveler by Dominus Gol of the Red Legion, the beginning of the Red War, it was all directly aided by the 9, and at least one of them enacted this plan with the simple intent of killing the emissary's ghost, Gol. All this madness, all this destruction, for one dead ghost. If we have to take one thing away from this story, I think it's simply what has to be said by the Drifter at the very end of all of this. The 9 approach simple problems with sweeping extreme solutions. In order to get water, they will destroy a dam and flood a river and kill everyone downstream. We'll need to watch closely for this approach to problems in the future, and be wary of what they can do to change the paths of fate. One moment it might be a train, the next, who knows? The next Dominus Gol might be around the corner, and we don't even know it. Check on the satellites, gang. Anyway, that's all from me for now. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave your thoughts down below in the comments section, and remember that you can support me by leaving a like. Also note that if you want more lore from universes near and far, hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership as always has been quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Bife. For Audacia ad Astra. I'll see you Starside.